some 40 years ago that when we reach 2020, we ought to have to experience, to learn, look at what we have been doing. They have been sourcing jobs outside. You find that the United States manufacturing companies have sourced outside the United States, looking into the opium of 2050. How will be the economic diversity in the world be? How is the global business going to conduct itself in the 22nd century? Let us look into the future. Let's look at stuff in terms of sustainable development. Let's not look at what we have today. Let's work hard, sacrifice ourselves, and help us leap over into the future. Then we can now start walking the journey and walking the process. Let's not wait until a situation like this comes in, then is when we are starting to think. Let's have policy thinkers. Let's have kind of literature review. Let people who help the country assess the situation, come up with the policies that are workable, involve Kenyans in those policies to chart their future in terms of e-learning, e-business, e-environment, e-biological factors, e-science, e-evolution, e-mathematics, e-human beings. The human nature today, if we look at it in terms of spirituality and sustainability, we are looking into the leap forward. I'm not looking at myself here. I'm developing a circle of e-learning in myself for my grandchildren. That's why I decided to say, look, let me do my second PhD. My grandson is 2 years old. By the time he comes to me, he looks at the grandfather and says, my granddad wrote history for me, but can I learn from my grandfather and do better than my grandfather?
When you look at the current situation in the country, most universities have closed down. People at some point are affected. Some who are supposed to graduate are not graduating. Those who are supposed to be finishing their final examinations are not able to do that. Are you still pursuing your PhD? Has your learning stopped?
Not at all, not at all. As I'm speaking to you, last night I was talking to my lecturer, whom I've never met. We are talking in a designed methodology, whereby I get what he wants me to do, and I send him what I've done for him to correct me. And life goes easier. Look at what's happening in our academic institutions. It's too much myopic. Myopia is what's actually affecting our educational systems. We are drifting back. In front, instead of going back, we are building universities. We are building, we are staging colossal
physical
structure and damage to land. Let people learn. Let's have infrastructure where people can learn from where they are, work from where they are, and that will be cost effective in terms of infrastructure, transport, costs involved in movement, manufacturing of books that are going to die tomorrow, because a book that is written today will not last because of innovation of academic methods due to literature review. People are writing, people are actually condemning themselves by saying, look, if I read what I'm reading today, do we have a gap in the social infrastructure in terms of learning? Do we have some kind of theory that we can actually relate to? Do we have to advance ourselves from this theory by bridging in the gap, by writing new things for the 22nd century? Look at the buildings, look at this. Do we need to have all this in the 22nd century? No. Can we work from where we are? Can we be innovative enough? Can we change money like we do? And I love my country, Kenya, for this issue of M-Pesa. Can I send you money while we are talking? Or do I need to go to the bank and line up in the bank, fill in the forms, and be asked the questions with the ID cards and what have you? Let's evolve ourselves. Let's move away from stagnant economic desires in terms of academia and move into a foreseeable future where we can use innovative technology.
Looking at the current state of the nation, do you think we can be able to head towards that?
Yeah.
Can the coronavirus, push us? Because sometimes we need to be pushed towards, our limit, towards perfecting what we can. We have the resources necessary. We have the policies that are there. Is this coronavirus, this COVID-19, what we need to be like a wake-up call for us to be able to, improve on our education sector and all the sectors affecting the country?
Definitely, definitely. We don't need to say we can move. We have already moved there. Number one, Kenya has got the largest number of students in the United States. It's the leading country. It has beaten India, according to qualitative statistics, which have been quantified. If you go to UK, Nigeria was leading, but Kenya is Number 3, in terms of students, we have technology. We have the education facility. All the president needs to do, and that's why I regard President Yoweri Museveni very highly, is you don't have to congest yourself in the local market, local diaspora. Look outside, make a contract, call in those Kenyans from there. Don't tell them that, oh, you are helping us with our economy, stay where you are. Import that technology back home, like what Botswana has done, and give them incentives. They can come in and help this country. Within 1 year, we shall be very far.
So we don't actually need the human resource. We need
No,
the
we don't need.
technological resource.
Which we have outside the country. We are very innovative.
What do you think about the 4G network that is provided to Kenyans, the government initiative to do that?
That's a good initiative, but what is the market value of 4G network? Who does it reach it to? Who is the consumer in this particular? Look at our population. Can we quantify our population to fit in the mechanism of consuming the 4G network? It's a good thing, but where is it? It's limited to metropolitan mindset. Therefore, what we need to do is to ask the president. He's now doing a good job, but let him not stay where he is. Let him look into the diaspora and ask those Kenyans by giving them incentives. Say, brothers, come back home. Brothers and sisters, come back home. Don't disarrange your family. Come and help us build this country. This is what we shall give it. But here, people are so afraid. People are very afraid of the unknown. If they can only borrow leave from India and Botswana in South Africa, plus Ghana and Museveni, of using what is available in our market, then that would be a certain thing. Look at India, for example. Article 1 of the Indian Constitution says that India belongs to the Indian nationals, wherever they are. It doesn't matter whether they are Indian Kenyans or Indian Americans, Indian. Therefore, if you want to come back home, if you want to come and invest, you get tax-free rebate. Come in and invest, and for the first 1 or 2 years, we shall not tax your product. Attracting Indians, who are the biggest manufacturers in the US and Canada, to come back home with business innovation. And that's why India is able to produce, to manufacture
so we don't
its
need
own automobiles.
So this move to provide internet to Kenyans, it is not the best in your view?
It is the best because Kenyans...
We're talking about working from home.
Yes.
They need internet.
Look at our Minister for Internal Security. Look at Matiang'i. Matiang'i, if the president could have done what, and I'm coming to the question that you're asking, if the president could have looked at another 20 Matiang'is and put them where they are, you could see the difference. Matiang'i came from outside.
We need more Matiang'is.
Yeah, we need more people with innovative ideas. When it comes to internet technology, who can beat the likes of Matiang'i? But if you have 20 of them, if you have 50 of them, and you have hundreds of them outside the country, they have even developed information technology, gadgets. Look at the M-Pesa idea. Whose idea was it? Was it not a Kenyan? So we don't need that. We need to be given 4G. We already have 4Gs in our mindset. All we need to do is someone to whistle, a proper whistle, and say, Kenyans outside, come in. If we have 50 Kenyans coming in, all these politics you are seeing, some people running up and down and people being killed left, right, and center because of corruption, focusing on 2022, all these things will die gradually. So what we need is to ask our government and our Kenyans outside, you don't need to be asked to come back, to be patriotic. Come back home and give us what you can give us to supplement what we have. Because we cannot say that our students in the university are stupid. We can also say that our lecturers in Kenyan universities are stupid. It's only that they need a hand, a helping hand, so that we can move together with what we have.
Learning has stopped in most, institutions. What should be the solution to that? Some are not even going to graduate.
Yes, and this has not been. This has been a problem for the first 20 years, where somebody goes to university and takes more than 5-6 years. Initially, it used to be strikes. Now it's many institutions without foundation, many institutions without policy to innovative policy to actually attract the market. The university students are not the only ones suffering. The connection, the interconnection, the connection dots between the parents, the lending institutions, the help loans, the family, who depend on this child who has come from Nyawita village in Kisumu, gone to University of Nairobi, maybe is the first one from that village to go to university, with expectations of graduating on time and getting a job, and going back to be a beacon of security, not in security in his home, to be a lighting lamp. His hopes being drained because of a longevity of graduation. People don't care. Rich people take their children outside the country. So, and you find that this kid will never graduate, or even if he graduates, there is no job.
What do you think? What will be your recommendation to the government and to the ministries that are, involved in this?
One is the government should know that there are lots of resources by Kenyans. Resources does not mean physical resources. We have a lot of mental resources that can actually can be injected in our economy in terms of reorganizing the whole society, and in terms of looking at policies which have stakeholders and programming our mindset in program evaluation systems, that we can actually look at things and innovate them and work. Singapore and Malaysia borrowed from this country in early 60s. We had very effective financial systems, healthcare systems. If other countries came and borrowed our blueprints, and they're doing very well, we can do better. We are a land of opportunity, a land of honey. God has given us life. We are a land of gold. We have very good soil. We have more than 7 climates in this country, where you can drive from one climate to another climate within 30 minutes. We are blessed. We are a blessed nation. All we need is the government to think outside the box, not within the box, and ask our brothers and sisters in the diaspora to come back, encourage them to come back, like some of us have done, and then we can bring that technology back home and be innovative.
I'm seeing a text by Rose. Anasema, Ram, please tell your guest, ambia serikali watulete relief food. Okay. What do you think about that? Relief food?
Relief food, that's why our mindset, and the majority of our mindset, of people in general, educated, non-educated, or both, is the begging mentality. Begging mentality. Kenyans even, and I've seen this, our brothers and sisters, even those who are working, you'll always find them begging. I don't give even a penny because they are not deserving. So if you are saying you want to beg for food, to bring food for what? Where is the government going to get money to give you food?
People don't need relief food? Or?
Relief food is good, but for how long? It can only be good for a measure. We have, if you was asking for the government to give them money to do business, to start up business entrepreneurship, that they can put food on their table, is fine. But I'm not trying to condemn her, to condemn whoever it is. All I'm telling her that yes, begging is good, asking is good, but you should also ask better, in a better way. Ask the government to bring up structures that can actually empower business entrepreneurship.
Could it be because, Kenyans are wondering, or they are asked to stay at home, social distances, and,
yes, in that case,
quarantine,
then there's no food? Right. They should give them food.
In that case,
if you're asking me to stay at home and you're killing my means of subsistence, then maintain me. Landlords should also be asked, please, don't ask for rent. And the government should subsidize the landlord, because the landlord has taken a mortgage. The government should also talk to mortgage lenders, telling them, look, let us come up with some kind of partnership, because we are in a crisis. It's not that don't ask for rent. Yes, don't ask, but let us subsidize you. Europeans subsidize their citizens when there's a calamity, a social and economic calamity like we have. So it's the government's duty and obligation. They have a lot of money. Let me say it this way. Yes, corruption has eaten part of that money. But the government should set up mechanisms of making sure that that money is ready, easy, and available to help in such kind of calamities, and in which case that lady is okay. They should be given food. They should be given shelter. If not, then they should pay for them. That's a cost that is a cost as a result of the wanting actions of God.
All right. Let's touch on, because we have various things to touch on. I would like to quote what the Court Secretary General, that is Francis Atwoli, said regarding the economy. Let's touch on that, because this is now where issues get tight. Remember yesterday the president touched on measures to help in, getting more resources, more money for Kenyans. There's a cut in salary for, government officials, starting in from the president down to the CSS and the CASs. Francis Atwoli said this, and I quote, "If you want to compare Kenya with other nations, you'll be making a grave mistake. Our economy requires people to supplement it. We need to produce more to export and to export and local consumption. If you compare Kenya with other nations, you'll be making a grave mistake. Do you think that is misplaced? Do you agree with that?
I don't agree with it totally, because I do not know on which measures Francis Atwoli was talking, where he got the statistics from, and if he gave any evidence to that, yes, I will support him. But if there's no evidence, I will not comment.
I would like to look at the still on the economy. You have the tax relief options that mainly target low-income earners, and this include tax cut in the pay, the pay-as-you-earn, value-added tax, the VAT, the turnover tax, the TOT, and corporate tax. Those earning a gross salary of up to $24,000 a month will be granted a full tax relief on pay as you earn. We have other measures where we have other employees will, however, benefit from a reduction in pay from 30% to 25%. This was after the president instructed Treasury CS Ukudu Yatani to come up with a mini budget that should also see the levy on corporations' profit corporation tax go down by a similar margin. Do you think this is effective?
It's not effective. It should waive everything.
Everything.
Not coming into the bracketing of saying because of this window period. The government should waive. It should not be selective. It should not have selective amnesia by saying that a certain category of human beings, however much they earn, it should be waived holistically, because everyone is suffering. Manufacturers are suffering. Businesses are closing down. If you look at the big steel companies and cement companies that produce cement to build our houses have closed down. Where do you expect those companies to have or to get money from so that it can be reduced by a percentage in tax cut or rebates?
So when you have those who are earning up to $24,000 a month being given full tax relief on pay, and those who are earning it, who are earning above 24,000, some part of it will be cut. You think it is not the best move?
That's not the best approach, and the president is wrong.
Go
Let
all
him
across
waive holistically, because people are suffering, businesses are suffering. Businesses are suffering, manufacturers are suffering, wholesalers are suffering, retailers are suffering, local Kenyans are suffering, the big man is suffering, the small man is suffering. It's a calamity from God. And therefore, the president should actually waive and have temporary measures in place.
What about what he has done to cut his own salary? The president and the deputy are also cutting, part of their salary.
Well, if the
actually
president,
a big chunk, 80%.
Look, this is a big joke. The president and the deputy, how much money do they have? How much money does the deputy president give every day, wherever he goes? This is a joke, and please do not play with Kenyans. Both the president and the deputy president, stop playing with our mindsets. You have the money, you can cut your money to zero. You are not even supposed to be earning. Except with what the president is doing is okay, but when it comes to this kind of saying that you should cut our salaries, is it going to help in any way? Let them continue earning their salaries, but let them waive taxes to every Kenyan, whether in the manufacturing industry or not.
So you're saying, to get you right, their salaries should be cut. And
no, they should continue earning their salary, because what difference will it make even if they go home zero? These are rich men who have money. Look at the amount of money the deputy president is slashing around. Let him inject that money back in the economy. I'm not trying to be biased here. I'm being honest. This is a slap on Kenyans' face for both the president and the deputy, and I'm not really going to debate more on that one, because someone somewhere will say that I'm radicalizing Kenyans by saying so, but the truth has to stand.
So for all Kenyans, everyone who is not, well, we say the common mwananchi, they should not be, taxed in any way, not even 1%.
We are grieving. Even people who are dying today are being told you can't because of the coronavirus.
But the rest of the leaders, all Kenyan leaders should have their budgets or their salaries cut, or they continue earning.
If the president is serious, let him start with himself, his deputy, and the entire cabinet, by telling all those guys do not earn any salary for the next 6 months, because they get allowances.
Okay.
Do not overdrive those vehicles that you have. Is he also trying to tell us that the government is not going to subsidize them in terms of their infrastructure?
What about the CSS and the CAS?
Well,
30% cut for the CS.
Did they ask the CS to agree? Is it some kind of order that is not, that has gotten some kind of participation? Even the permanent secretary or the cabinet secretary is a human being. He has a right to earn, he has a family. If you cut his salary, and maybe his needs are higher than what, how are you going to make this man survive? Let this issue of cutting salaries not be there. Let people earn their salaries, but let taxes be waived and let the government take responsibility of giving to the people of this country the needs they need right now. Look at the security operations, for example. Look at the police. I went to Kasarani police station yesterday and I saw that our men and women in uniform were working 24/7. What the president should be doing is that those who are involved in high-risk job description, their salaries should go high. Then we are talking. But what's the point of saying our salaries should go halfway, yet policemen and women who are working, who have put their lives in danger with healthcare operators, stay where they are.
But for the president, it's not cut halfway. It's 80%.
80%
of the salary
80%,
of both the president and the deputy.
80%, 1%. Does it really matter to a Kenyan? Does it really matter to me? The president, yes, he can cut his salary, he can volunteer to work for free. But the question is, can he do what Kenyans selected him for? Yes, he's trying. But then can they come out and say, look, we are in a crisis. The World Bank is giving us $270 million to subsidize this. Can we inject this money in the people to actually restore people's confidence?
Okay, the question is, Professor, when you look at the amount of money that will be acquired from all these salary cuts, do you think it will help in any way? At some point, will it boost the economy?
Well, I don't know at what fraction. Quantify it and give it in figures. Probably I will be able to say yes or no. 80% of how much does the president earn? How much does the deputy earn? How much does the CS earn? Quantify that, put it, no, don't do it now. Quantify that, put it in a bracket and let us see. And then we can say whether it makes any sense to them. The president would have said, yes, my 80% cut is being deposited to the Ministry of Health. The deputy president's 80% cut is being deposited to the police officers who are working day and night. The ministers, the CS and permanent secretaries or what have you cut is being deposited in the healthcare industry so that people can see, oh, this is, but if you say you're cutting it, yes, you're cutting it for what? We are in a crisis right now. Tell us what you want to hear. Do to the Kenyans what they want to be done. Help Kenyans to put food on their table. Subsidize their economy. The Europeans are doing that. Italians are doing that. This issue of coming up with the brackets of cutting taxes here and there, yet you are getting money from the Bretton Woods institutions, the World Bank, the IMF, and donors are coming in. Let us not play with the mindset of our nation.
It won't work.
It will not work.
So, in your viewpoint, do you think that we as a nation are going to get to recover from this coronavirus economically? Will we recover?
Definitely we shall. With the zeal and power that Kenyans have in God, I'm sure that this has been a learning lesson. But then recovery will take time. But then also the government has to come or take measures to subsidize those who have suffered more, especially in the business community, that we can, and also in the job market, that we can actually come to terms with the reality. It will come. We had the First World War. We saw what happened during the First World War. We saw how European governments came together to find the Bretton Woods institutions so that they could be reassured never to suffer again. We saw what happened in the non-alignment movement, which was being led by India and Cuba and Tanzania. So we are just rearranging. We are in a scope of rearrangement, and maybe God has come in to put brakes on us to let us learn how to reorganize our future.
So some people are saying that this coronavirus comes from God. Do you believe that?
Well, God can create everything, but in my mindset, I think this is a virus whose origins has to be tested by scientific measures.
I asked that because you mentioned a call from God. Call to order
well,
from
God can also punish. If you look at the Old Testament, you see how God used to wipe out certain families, how he used to bring locusts and do what have you. It could be a modern reality, a modern reaction by God. We are sinning, we need repentance, and therefore the way we are going is not the right way. Come on, come up and rethink. But anyway, that's just speculation.
Speculation.
Scientific-based evidence.
I'm seeing we have a text here by David. Anasema, in as much as we need 20 Matiangis, we also, I don't know, you said we need 20 Matiangis.
Even 200 Matiangis.
In as much as we need 20 Matiangis, we also need many brainy and focused Wajackoyahs, okay,
Thank you.
such positions to help Kenya move ahead.
Thank you very much.
Ah, all right. I see someone. I think
it's a blessing.
It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
It's a blessing.
Keep texting, keep sending in your tweets as we continue this morning conversation on the coronavirus right here on The Viewpoint. Remember, the hashtag is Good Morning Kenya. On Twitter, tag me at Ram Aguko. At KBC Channel 1 is the official station handle. The SMS line is 20154. Start with the word Channel 1. Tell us your name and where you're watching us from. Prof, let's talk about security. And as we touch on this, I would like to ask you first, do you think we need our security officers to be on the ground, to ensure that Kenyans follow these rules? And do you think that we are heading towards this way? Let me compare Kenya with, in as much as some will say that we cannot compare Kenya with other countries, but taking other countries as an example. Spain. In Spain, we have it is the second worst hit European country after Italy. But in Spain, the military has been brought in to help disinfect care homes. In Britain, the British Army has been called in to help the most vulnerable people. In Bulgaria, the military has been allowed to help curb the movement of people from with a mandate to use force if necessary. And the Bulgarian forces will be mobilized to assist civilian authorities with authority to stop vehicles and people until the police arrive. In the U.S., in America, President Donald Trump has tasked the U.S. Navy to deploy 2 of its hostile ships to each coast to aid of abandoned hospital systems as coronavirus cases rise. I can continue giving more examples. Still, also in the U.S. you have over 6,000. In all these countries, we have one common factor: the security agencies being used, the military, the troops. Do you think, as a country, as Kenya, we are going towards that direction?
I think Kenyans are smarter than those countries. We have the police force, and the president has full confidence in our police. So far, so good. If you look at what the Inspector General of Police has done with his counterparts, so far they have tamed this. We don't need our men and women in military to come on the streets because we have not reached the issue of chaotic. But the way we are organized, the way our social structures are, and the way our public relationships, our social relationships are with our police officers, I think I have confidence also, in tandem with the president's confidence, that our police force is handling it well, and I don't think that we can reach that amnesia of calling in the army. We are not at war with the disease. We are at war with the prevention mechanisms, which I don't think that we shall require the defense forces to come in. The police are enough. They are doing a good job.
We don't require the defense forces to come
all
in.
That my
countries like, for example, we have at least 7,300 National Guard members are aiding in the coronavirus response in all 50 states in the United States where these cases have been reported, as well as in Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico.
Yes, Puerto Rico is the last state that became part of the Union. But what the U.S. is doing, and let me sum it up from what you have told me, is to use the army to help, fumigate homes, and help. And what Italians are doing is to control the crowd, because their crowd, if you compare with ours, I think theirs is much more. That's why I think in terms of social behavior, we behave better than some of these Europeans. After all, it's their disease and they're the ones dying more than we are. But however, having said so...
Do you think it's a human disease, not their disease?
No. Well, when AIDS came, it said it was an African disease. We got it from the monkeys or what have you. I'm glad this one has come from them, so that they can also see that you cannot condemn Africans for life. Disease is disease, yes, but where did it come from? China, now it's in Italy, Spain. It is coming here. We didn't need it. They are bringing it to us.
So, but the origin of a disease doesn't define, who owns the disease.
How sure are we that this is not something that has been created in a laboratory?
All right. So you're saying that by the fact that it's not coming from Africa, then we are better off?
We are better off. Look at the way they are behaving. That's why army is deployed to them, because they can't behave. Yet they are more civilized than what Africans are. I think it's the opposite now. We are more civilized during this coronavirus than that. But when it comes now to fumigation of homes, yes, do we need to require the army? Yet we have National Youth Service. Yet we can ask Kenyans to fumigate themselves by giving them the infrastructure. That's why we beat them. We don't need the army to come in. We have enough police, and if the police cannot do it, we shall ask the National Youth Service. But then above all, Kenyans are law-abiding citizens. You can see what the minister is doing, and I love this minister, this new minister. He's telling Kenyans, and they're doing it, and the law enforcement is taking it as precedent. So there is no need of copying what other people are doing, yet we can contain it. Am I not speaking with you? Have you not drawn a line between me and yourself by pushing me very far away, social distancing? Yes, you have. Is it not something that others can learn from? Yes, they can learn from. So our Kenyan people, as they are, we are not going to allow ourselves to be used. We are going to listen to the state, and we are going to ask the state to help us, to provide for us so that we can actually help to contain this situation.
Do you think we need to use the police, especially when it comes to restricting movement of Kenyans? Yesterday, we had the president announcing that there will be a curfew starting tomorrow, a curfew from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. every day. Every Kenyan should be in their homes. Will this be effective? Because this now comes in terms of security. I think it falls in the security docket.
The Constitution allows the president to declare a state of emergency, full state of emergency, or quarter, or half, or as the situation in the country might be. He has not violated the Constitution. Public interest overrides the Constitution at this particular time, and that's why the president did not need to court to come up with that kind of measures. Yes, I'm sure that even now as we speak, the bars have been closed. But which market doesn't have a madman?
Okay.
So there are those who will not really care about the directive and let the police deal with them. But
do you expect the police to be moving around during these hours?
Well, yes, they have to.
From 7 a.m.?
They are the eyes and the bastions of the liberties. Therefore, they are mandated by the Constitution, and public interest allows them, and their job description allows them to maintain law and order 24/7. Therefore, they cannot sleep because the president has said otherwise. They will be there to safeguard the rights and interests of the state and the people of this nation. And they will be there also to oversee that the directive actually is taken care of. And in that case, the police will be there. Have you ever seen a police station closing? Or have you ever seen a police station having their cells full?
These are essential services.
These are essential services. So will we also be closing hospitals at that particular time? No. It's only the movement, to restrict the movement, so that we can contain this disease once and for all, the way China has done it.
When you look at the curfew that has been given out, this is from dusk to dawn, the start of the end of the 10-hour curfew beginning tomorrow, as announced by the president. What do you think Kenyans should expect to happen during this curfew period? Is there any movement or any precautionary measure that the common mwananchi should take, especially when they are caught off guard? What do you expect during this?
I think
what happens?
The presidential directive, let me think about it, is not really, it's vague in a way, because he has not come up to give exceptions. What if somebody has an emergency and wants to be ferried to the hospital during that particular time? So can the president redo his directive and give an exception to needy cases that could be moving around at that particular time? What about if there is an accident, a fire accident, and neighbors see somebody's house burning? Can they be restricted, or can they go and help the neighbors?
What normally happens during curfew, especially for a nation like Kenya? What should
Well, we have only experienced one curfew during the 82 coup,
yes,
where people are stayed to stay at home, and those who were found were arrested, some were shot during that particular time because it was an emergency. And besides the curfews that were put during colonial times, this could be a modern curfew that we are yet to see what will happen, because I cannot speculate what will happen on that day. But what I intend to see is that people following the directives. But the president should also have come up and said, except, with the exception of needy circumstances, people can liaise with the police to take their sick to the hospital at that particular time. But let us wait and see.
Wait and see. Looking at Kenyans, you said in every marketplace there must be a madman.
Definitely.
How mad can, what do you think could, what are the loopholes that could be seen or experienced during this period?
You have seen bishops, men of the pulpit, preaching wine and preaching the word of God, preaching to the congregation.
Preaching water and drinking wine?
Yes. No. Just preaching water and drinking water. I'm not there yet. When you see their families, you find out that some of their kids have not followed their father's trend.
Okay.
Probably something has happened which is beyond prayer, human cognition. So also, where we put even 5 presidents in one room, you'll find one complaining that socks yangu imeibiwa, somebody has taken my cigarette. So human beings, as they are, definitely, they cannot follow one trend. We are designed in a different way to behave in a different atmosphere. So you'll find that there are those who are consistently nagging themselves with constraints that make them focus on other things. Therefore, a market without a mad market actually is not a market. When I was a street kid, we used to have a mad street kid who used to walk naked along the river here, and we could not sleep without seeing him walking naked and doing his antics. So a market without a madman is not a market. And therefore, that's why you'll see some people defying the presidential order by coming up in the streets, arrest them.
When you look at some of the initiatives given, let's now shift gears to the initiatives given by the different leaders from different regions. And I would like to quote what Governor for Kakamega, who is also the Council of Governors chairman, that is His Excellency Governor Wycliffe Oparanya. He said this, and I quote, "All bodies at the mortuaries will be collected by family members as soon as possible. We have waived all mortuary expenses, so the bodies should be collected without a problem." This initiative was, this move was done. People collected their bodies. Governor Paranya also closed all markets in measures aimed at minimizing crowds in the wake of the coronavirus. Yet at the same time, we had other counties, like Laikipia County, where we had Governor, His Excellency Ndiritu Murithi, who ensured that all members of his county, all people within Laikipia County got tested of the COVID-19. Different governors putting in different measures. Do you think that the leaders that we have put, the right, let me say, the best foot forward, helping the president himself in taking the country towards the right direction in fighting against coronavirus, so that the members follow? Because you have the presidency, the protocol from the presidency, where you have the different governors leading their people, the different people, towards the agenda that is oriented towards the presidential directives that are given, so that the members on the ground follow. Do you think the leaders are setting the good pace for the members down there?
Yes, Governor Paranya has done a wonderful, superb job. And as a leading governor and as chairman of the Council of Governors, he is himself a planner. When he was a minister for planning and development, or whatever it was, there was no qualms or queries coming from his ministry, and we didn't even see a sign of corruption. Governor Paranya has done a good job. Governor Paranya, if you look at the infrastructure in Kakamega County, especially Kakamega Town, you can see roads and other social amenities that have been put in place. What I want to say while I thank him is that as a governor in his last term, he should just waive mortuary fees from now until he comes out of office, because the dead should not be taxed. When they die, they should
from now till 2022.
22. He should continue that spirit, and he has my support, because when he's following, anyone who is following the president's directive is my friend. Anyone who is talking against the president is my enemy. So anyone who is doing what the president has said for the benefit of Kenyans and public interest, I'll support him.
Take a look at another case scenario where we had Kilifi Deputy Governor Gideon Saburi. I don't know if you heard of his case where he was, tested for the COVID-19, was tested positive but he was accused of endangering the lives of many Kenyans, where he was moving around for, roaming for over 2 weeks. And he was put on a forced quarantine after testing positive. What do you think about that kind of an example?
That governor should be impeached. And should be
deputy governor.
Deputy governor should,
Yes.
should be impeached. He is not fit to be a public figure. First of all, we do not know whether he has tagged those he greeted, because I'm told that he went and saw his, I don't know whether it's true, he saw Raila Odinga, he saw the president, he commingled with all these people. So we don't know who has been affected where. But however, a rowdy governor like that, deputy governor like that one, or public, a person who has been entrusted with public confidence, coming up, defying the directive. I mean, these are the people who should be in jail. Let him finish wherever he is being quarantined by force, be taken to court tomorrow, and I'm sure that he should be, if found guilty, he should be thrown behind the bars. This is traits of a bad leader.
Traits of a bad leader.
Yes.
And that's why I was starting in. Do you think our leaders, on from the top, are they setting a good ground for people around there to following the directives given by the man at the top of the president?
Yes, that's why I said two things. If you are with the president, I am with you on this one. If you are not with the president, I'm not with you. I am with Governor Paranya. I am with the Governor Nderitu of Laikipia, because they are following the right directives for the sake of millions of Kenyans who can die at a time. But surrounding a deputy governor like this one, and those priests that have defied the order of humanity, they ought to be in jail. Because look at the people they have commingled with. Look at the aftermath effect, health effect of those families. Who is going to bear the cost? Who is bearing the cost right now? Is it not the very government that is now looking for those people who commingled with this? I don't want to say the word because it will be offensive. Kind of mediocre deputy governor. That man should be in jail. And let me, if he's watching me on TV, if he was an honorable person, he should resign. Because he has really done what anyone with human sanity can do.
Let's bring this discussion to a close, Prof. What would be your final word? I would like you to give us your viewpoint. Speak to the Kenyans who are watching you. Your directive, speaking to the nation. What would be your piece of advice to the nation and to the government? Your viewpoint.
My
that
fellow
is your
Kenyans,
camera there.
my fellow Kenyans, I'm very grateful to the government institution, the one I am in, to have given me this opportunity to address you as a nation. First of all, the presidential directive is for you and me to stay away from this insecurity that has been brought in through the foreign miniature. Secondly, you as a Kenyan, if you are looking into my eyes, I being one of your leaders in waiting, I would like to appeal to you that we should learn from what has happened now to think and reshape the future of this country after 2022. To those who are in the education sector, to those who are in the infrastructure sector, let us come together as a nation. Let us think together as a nation. Let us go back to the drawing table. Let us include other Kenyans to chart their way forward in terms of having program orientations which are policy-based that will help the future of the children, of our children in this nation. Let us look into 2050 and redesign 2050 in terms of our academic preponderance, in terms of our infrastructure, so that we can start walking the way while we remain others to walk that way through, so that we can become a successful nation. I would like also to end up by thanking the new Minister for Health. You have captured the imagination of Kenyans and the whole world as a leader who cares for this nation. You and Matiang'i in particular, and the Inspector General of Police, I would like to pass my gratitude to you. And I would like Kenyans to actually embrace what the President is saying so that we can move together to move this country, to restore this country, to restore this to a greater Kenyan. Thank you very much.
All right, that is Professor George Wajackoyah, Roots Party leader. Thank you very much, Prof, for joining me and sharing your viewpoint.
Thank you.
A pleasure having you. Wishing you the best.
Thank you.
And stay safe and healthy.
Thank you, sir.
All right, this is The Viewpoint. It ends now. The hashtag, as always, is Good Morning Kenya. Tag me at Ram Aguko, at Jane Wamboy, at Ray Manyara, Doreen Naranga, and the official station handles at KBC, Channel 1. 20154 is the SMS line. Start with the word Channel 1. Tell us your name and where you are watching us from. The Viewpoint ends now. But Good Morning Kenya continues. We'll be back in a bit. Keep it KBC.